Typhoon Babinka making landfall near Shanghai, China, on tonight's tropical weather bulletin. Tropical weather bulletin for September 16th. On the map of world tropics, we have four named storms: Tropical Depression Ileana in the Gulf of California, Tropical Depression Gordon in the Atlantic, Typhoon Babinka making landfall near Shanghai, and Tropical Storm Pulasan by the JMA, which is not even tropical. I don't know how it got named, but it did. Here's the Western Pacific, Pulasan there, basically directly over Guam. Babinka is just south of Shanghai. 96W there, north of Pulasan, currently has a 20% chance of formation. And 98W, which has a 70% chance of formation, will not be another Yagi, do not worry. Here's the Atlantic. We have potential tropical cyclone 8 marked there. That's expected to make landfall in South Carolina tomorrow. And Gordon, which is very weak. It's expected to regain tropical storm status in about 3 days, though. And here is the Eastern Pacific. We have Ileana there in the Gulf of California. Very, very small system. You can't see it on this map. But it didn't peak very strong. It peaked with winds of 45 miles an hour and a pressure of 999 millibars. On this day, 2 years ago, in 2022, Typhoon Nanmadol was peaking with winds of 160 miles per hour and a pressure of 909 millibars. Typhoon Muifa was making its final landfall in North Korea. That peaked as a Category 4. Fiona also peaked as a Category 4 later in life, but it was making landfall on Guadalupe. Lester was approaching the coast of Mexico, and Madeline was named at the very end of the 16th. Here are the names. In the Atlantic, we will probably be seeing Helene soon. And then the next name after that is Isaac. In the Eastern Pacific, John hopefully won't last for a month, like the one 30 years ago. And after that would be Christy. Central Pacific, the next name is Iona, followed by Kelly. In the Western Pacific, the next name is Sulik, followed by Cimarron. And in the North Indian Ocean, the next name is Dana, followed by Fingal. Here is Babinka on the satellite imagery. You can see the storm's structure has actually begun to improve quite a bit since the beginning frames. But it's not very strong. The initial forecast was completely wrong. The initial forecast called a Category 4 peak. This got to a high-end Category 1, probably. Looking at satellite, probably got to a high-end Category 1. And that's debatable, considering the latitude. But so the initial forecast was a flop. But the storm itself does not look terrible on satellite imagery. It is making landfall near Shanghai, which is the third most populated city in the world. So a very high population is at risk right now. But it's not an extremely powerful storm like previous storms this year. Barrel. A pretty significant threat because it's threatening such a large population. But the structure of the storm has begun to improve recently. And that eye feature looks like it might be poking back out just a tiny bit there. Like it was earlier today and late last night. But this storm is threatening a very large population currently, and people at Shanghai need to be taking preparations, even though it's probably already too late for that, because it's making landfall as we speak right now. Here is Ileana on the satellite imagery. You can see very, very small tropical system here that looks very, very poor. It's got quite clearly a very exposed center of circulation there, but it does still have a circulation, so it is still tropical. But the storm structure is massively degrading currently, and in the very recent frames, it looks like it is like fizzling out to the point where there is nothing left of the storm. This storm probably doesn't even have 24 hours left. It's so weak, and the structure of the storm is so bad at this point. This is by far one of the worst looking tropical cyclones I have ever seen. I mean, at its peak intensity, it looked like, your average tropical storm, but right now, this is one of the worst looking tropical cyclones I have ever seen. Here's Gordon on the satellite imagery. You can see also very, very small system. It's about the same size as Ileana. And also looking very, very poor on the satellite imagery. But it is expected to regain tropical storm status on Thursday, I believe. So in about 3.5 to 4 days. But the storm also looks very, very poor on satellite imagery. Believe it or not, I believe that storm off to its east there, I don't even think that's the system itself. I don't think that's part of the system at all. I think it is just that tiny little dot of convection there that is Gordon. I believe so, at least. I'll have to check, but I believe that's it. In that case, it is an extremely small tropical system that is very weak and has a very poor structure. This didn't peak very strong. It peaked with winds of 45 miles an hour and a pressure of 1,004 millibars. But yeah. Also, believe it or not, unrelated to Gordon, but Yagi's remnants are still active over India, and for a brief period, they were marked as an area of interest. So that's fun. Yagi just doesn't want to die, I guess. Here is the GFS. You can see both of our Atlantic tropical systems here. Go ahead and press play. So that tropical storm forms near the Carolinas there. Looks like that makes landfall around 1,004 millibars, so not very strong. Gordon there looks like it might be trying to get back up to tropical storm status, which is what we expected. Looks like a stronger peak than the first one, 991 millibars. So that's quite significantly stronger than the first one by 13 millibars. But doesn't look like much else happens in the Atlantic over these next 2 weeks. Looks like maybe a little hint. Yep, a little tropical storm there going up towards Cuba there, getting up to, close to hurricane status. Here is the Eastern Pacific. I believe you could see Ileana there. I'm not 100% sure. I wasn't paying attention. But looks like not much else happens in the Eastern Pacific over these next 2 weeks. You can see that. Just a bunch of clouds moving through and a bunch of little low pressure areas. Doesn't look like anything tropical, actually. Ends up getting itself together, though. Which is good, because Mexico already had enough of a fun time with Ileana. And there's that tropical storm near Cuba again. Here's the Western Pacific. You can see Babinka basically right on the coast of China there, as well as Pulasan and 98W there. So there's Babinka moving inland, holds tropical storm status for a while. There's Pulasan moving north, large tropical system too. There's 98W, heading for Hainan Island. Then another tropical system there that looks like that gets up to Category 2 status. That's another very large system that hits, guess what, China. Looks like another tropical storm there in the South China Sea. Goes for Hainan Island again. Looks like maybe another little tropical storm over the Philippines. Guess where it heads? Hainan Island. And then Vietnam. So, Hainan Island is not having fun. Also, I saw a little something in the North Indian Ocean there, so we're going to go to that. So, that little thing right there on the coast of India, that's the remnants of Yagi. But there you go. Yagi's remnants there moving inland. Looks like get a little bit stronger there, but looks like they just get sucked up north into China. So, not much happening with those. Looks like the remnants of that typhoon make it too. That's 98W. That would be, depending on which one gets things first, I'm pretty sure that would be Sulik. Tropical storm there, getting to 987 millibars, which is probably a tropical storm. Another tropical system there. Looks like that peaks at 987 millibars too. Then that storm goes into the Arabian Sea too. That looks like the satellite imagery. Here is Babinka. Cloud tops have been on and off recently. You can see started off very high, went down low, went back up high again, went down really low, and then they're kind of making a little bit of a resurgence there. That's that eye feature I was talking about as well, right there. So it looks like the storm has moved a little bit inland, which means it has made landfall now. But that's that eye feature I was talking about. But it's still not very strong. It's showing that eye feature up a little late, considering it's already made landfall. But this could hold tropical storm status for a while. I said potentially up to, like, looks like maybe a day and a half it holds tropical storm status, which is fair enough. The Gobi Desert. Well, actually, no, this is nowhere near the Gobi Desert. So, yeah. The whole 7th grade geography class coming in clutch there. This is nowhere near the Gobi Desert, so there really should not be any reason it holds tropical storm status that long. But I don't know. So Ileana's actually not marked here anymore. I don't know why, but Ileana's not on here. Here's Gordon. This is the cloud tops are not very good. The highest cloud tops right now are barely touching the mid minus 50s. Earlier today, they were still not that good. They were only in the minus 60s. That little thunderstorm off to the right here has higher cloud tops than a tropical system. That could be part of Gordon. I have no idea, but those cloud tops are in the minus 70s. And at the end right there, that tiny little dot of minus 70s right there. But yeah, that's just a thunderstorm that might be associated with Gordon. I have no clue. It doesn't look like it because it's Gordon's moving, and that quite clearly is not. So I don't know if that is part of Gordon or if it's not. But a regular thunderstorm currently has higher cloud tops than a tropical system, which makes zero sense. But it's also 2024 Atlantic for you. 2024 Atlantic hurricane season has been very weird so far, with Category 5 in July, the Category 2 so far north, Category 2 in Louisiana that was not supposed to happen, and, you know, this somehow forming, which really, if we're being scientific here, Gordon really, in the conditions it was in, which were not very good, it should not have formed. 2024 Atlantic hurricane season has been weird so far, let's just say that. And here's his potential tropical cyclone. It's currently an extratropical cyclone, has been marked as a potential tropical cyclone. The center is about here. It is very heavily sheared to its south. The center is about here. So it's supposed to make landfall near Charleston, which, by my best regards, is about like here. If my memory serves correctly, which most of the time it does not. But the cloud tops haven't changed much. They've gotten a little bit higher. That's like mid minus 60s up to maybe low minus. That's like mid minus 60s up to maybe low minus 70s. Like almost exactly minus 70s. The cloud tops haven't changed much. But this is just a little extra tropical cyclone now, but it is supposed to reach tropical storm status. We've given it 90% chance of reaching at least tropical depression status, which is very likely at this point. Let's go ahead and take a look. So this is what is marked 97W, but this is what is actually Pulisan. The JTWC has it marked as an invest. JMA has it as a tropical storm, but this is Pulisan. You'll see immediately I have no clue how this got a tropical designation. The only hint that it is tropical is at the very beginning here, when those cloud tops are really high and the structure is semi-decent. But right now, it looks absolutely terrible. Also, that is not anywhere near where the eye of Pulisan is. The eye is like here. Well, at the time it was like here. But still, I have no clue how this got named. Who is working at the JMA? How did this get named? And then there's 98W, which doesn't actually look bad. If they were going to call something like a random invest that wasn't a tropical storm, call this one, because this one has been looking decent for a while now. Extremely high cloud tops earlier today, getting up to, looks like mid minus 90s, still very, very high, up into the low minus 90s there. Cloud tops of the Western Pacific have been the thing this year. They've been very high. With Ampil, which, actually I don't remember what Ampils were, but Yagi had very, very high cloud tops, like up into the minus hundreds at one point. Extremely high cloud tops from Yagi. But that is it for tonight's tropical weather bulletin. I have no clue how Pulisan was named, and I don't know what the Atlantic's doing this year. The Atlantic's being weird, but we'll have more as the Atlantic season progresses. But until then, like, subscribe, goodbye.